What we're going to look at today is converting our analysis of a magazine or a document or whatever, and we're going to convert that into thumbnails. As you can see on here, I've chosen a front cover. I'm going to put that to the side so I know what I'm looking at. Unfortunately, you can't see it too well, so if I move this over here and I'll try and get it into position where you can see it. So on this here, I'm going to do a representation to scale. Now you can use a rule if you want to use a rule to help you. I normally just freehand sketch it, and it's called a thumbnail because it is roughly the size of your thumb. It's not small, it's not big, it's not massive, but it should be in proportion to the shape of the page that you're drawing. And in this case, it's a single page to represent this page here. On the background there's a main image, and my main image in this case was a lady, and I could put it in like that. I'll call that my main graphic. And what I could also do is I could put a representation and that it's centered, and that there's a lady sitting here and she's sitting down there like that, and that's all I need to do really. That shows me that it's a picture. What is then happening is I've got the headline, and the headline's up the top here. There's a tiny wee header in there, so I'll just show it as one text box, and then I've got my other text box here which comes in like that. And if I look closely at this, half of it, the G and the A, goes behind the lady's head. So if I put that across there like that and put that in there, if I was to write it, you can see it's M-A, the G's missing, A's missing, then I've got Zine here. So I can see that that is cropped in front. And we just put a wee annotation to tell me that. Also over here there's a couple of wee text boxes with date, and there's another wee tagline on there. Down the side, if I start on this side here, there's a margin where these things line up, and I've got a text box in here with two lines on it, and it's in there. Now I could, if I wanted to, put in the words, and in this case the word says naff off, and it's in block capitals, so that would be my main heading. And because this is in, I mentioned this last week, because it's in bigger letters, it represents the picture. It's my main heading of what's in here. Underneath here there's another text box with 4 lines in it, and I would just show it like that. And again there's a wee what's called a byline at the bottom, byline, because it tells me that this is by Andrew Billen, so I put that in there. Over on the other side, again, same again, I'm picking this out. Now there's 3 lines of text here, and they're actually centered aligned. So if I go like that, I'll write this over here and I'll say center aligned, block caps, and there's another wee text box underneath, same again, and it's lowercase. It repeats itself, and I'll say that that's repetition, and there's a wee tag down here, and there's another text box down the bottom as well. Now that one there is in red font, and it's white on red, which is called a reverse. And that's really it for the front cover, so I know that's my front cover, and I'll put that there like that. And then when we want to look at another page, this particular one I went straight inside and I had my contents page. So over here, again similar in size, and I'll use the whole side of this page. I'm not going to squeeze things in, have plenty of space around them. I've got a similar page here. Now straight away, I mentioned this last week, and notice that I've got a margin around this page, so I'm going to draw in very quickly the grid to represent what we've discovered last week. There's a grid on this page, and it is in fact a 3x2 grid, 2x3, a wee gutter down there, so you've got 2 columns and 3 rows, 1, 2, 3. There's a picture, takes over this whole area here. It's a graphic. There's a graphic over in this box here, and I mentioned last week there was a wee bit of bleed on it, but I'm going to say what it is. It's toys. So it's a graphic of toys. This is a graphic of a lady who's actually the new Vice President, and down here there's a text box. So in the text box I'll just show it as a series of lines in here. Down the bottom there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is a graphic down here, and we talked about this again last week, which was split up into 5, and it was 5 equal wee graphics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't need to draw all of them, and I'll draw one in. So there's a circle here, and it's what represents a wee sock. There's a wee bit of text in here, but what I will say is 5 graphics, repetition. Okay, is there any lines? Yeah, there's what's called a rule or a line. Rule for margin. There's a wee date up the top there. And we're getting in close to this, and we're looking at it. The idea being that there's enough information on this thumbnail that you can discuss it with someone. So that's called the contents page. So I've got my front cover, my contents. I'm going to look for a 2-page spread now. And we did do one last week, I remember doing one. So there we go. There's my 2-page spread. So obviously my 2-page spread is going to take up twice the space on here. And there's a fold in the page, and it's got a grid on it, and we mentioned this last week that my grid would be a 6x2 and that there's 3 columns in each page. I'm drawing in the margins, and there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and the margin 2, 3. It was also split along the middle like that, so as I mentioned that's a 6x2 grid. And up the top here there was graphics taken up just above the halfway line. There was graphics in here, so I could show individual graphic boxes, and in this particular case these were food dishes. There was a wee, and I'm looking here, a wee heading which was in different colour letters. It was in red. And then there was the recipe itself, which was the text box down here. Now that repeats times 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all the way across the page. Is there anything else on the page we're looking for? Well, there was a rule up the top here, thin line down the bottom for a rule as well, and in the columns splitting the bottom here there was thin rules as well. And that was a 2 times 2 page spread. So that's the basics of graphics. I want you to get any bit of literature, look at it closely, analyse it and see if you can make a series of thumbnails from it. Number 1, number 2, number 3. See if you can make 3 thumbnails.